After I reflected on the song Tina Turner's "Woods Don't Be a Hero," I was thinking about my own version, the Will to Power. And I think the important things here, along with everything else, is that this is not a voluntary thing. I didn't volunteer for this, but I have no other choice. I was stuck between dying and living, and to live, I have to reach for the power. And I believe this is what is all. The meaning of will to power is behind Nietzsche's famous critique. My philosophy is not the stuff in books. My philosophy is I came back from the dead. This is how I live. It's not a theory. This is real life. This was purchased with my life. It's not really a negotiation with other people. It's not really an argument with other people. It's not arguing that I'm right with other people. It's like this is what I use to live because this is what saved me. Without this, I would have died. So this is the will to power in my context. This is what saved me. When I worked for the Air Force, we had different rule sets. I have a different reality. When I need help, I ask my boss. When something's too difficult, I ask for my boss. I only had to be responsible for a small subset of the responsibility of life. And when my boss was the one that tried to kill me, I looked up to his boss, and then his boss, and his boss. And when the military was all against me, or at least they didn't do anything to help me when I needed their help, and it was their duty to help, I reached out to the FBI because I thought it was their duty to handle federal issues that I could not handle. And they did not help. I reached out to congressmen and I reached out to senators. I reached out to the White House, the president, the commander in chief, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and when they did not help. When the war could not help. When the war turned its back on me, how the fuck do I live? The old rules was not working. Asking for help wasn't working. I wasn't about to be on my knee and pray to Jesus. I know that doesn't work. No offense to the people that pray, but you could pray as much as you want for another 2,000 years and it won't work. So I stumble upon what Nietzsche's teaching. I'm not a I'm not a scholar like Nietzsche or other PhD. I don't have all of the words for a given subject. But that doesn't mean I don't know the subject. While they spend the time in the classroom trying to understand this reality, I am that reality. And I don't know how many books you have to read to understand that reality without living in it. I don't believe it's possible. Books cannot give you what life has given me. The moral code of right and wrong. So Nietzsche was a thinker. He thought about the right and wrong in a more advanced way than I did. When I was little, I told my dad that there's no right and wrong. You could use it the wrong way, but I still believe there's really no right and wrong. But then, if I tell people to use it, they're gonna use it in their own way, and then they will be wrong. This right and wrong is for contemplation. It's not really a rule set on go out and do whatever you want and disregard everything. So in the context of what what values, what has values to you, what truth do you need to confirm life exists and to live a happy life? To answer this, well, you need to move beyond right and wrong. I'll give you some really basic example, but the advanced stuff you have to dig on your own. The white people say I should not have the same position. The white people say I should not be as smart as white people. The white people say I should not have as much importance as white people. So I believe I was wrong if I asked for too much, right? But then once I move out the U.S. and work outside the U.S., where Americans and white people are the minority in some of these settings, I found out that I'm more important than a lot of my white counterparts. I contribute more than a lot of my white counterparts. I'm more reliable than a lot of my white counterpart. I'm smarter than a lot of my white counterpart. So where is this idea that I cannot be this, I cannot be that come from? Where is this idea that I cannot be a U.S. president come from? You know, in Game of Thrones, there's a great scene where Varys, the spy master, was posing a riddle to Tyrone, Tyrion. There's a king, a businessman, and a priest stuck in a room with a sellsword, a mercenary, who will walk out. Well, we think the most important one are the king, the priest, or the money guy. But at that moment, that specific moment, the guy with the sword was gonna be the most powerful one. But most likely, in reality, that's not how it works. Like right now in 2026, the one holding the gun, they are not the most powerful one on the planet. They are the weakest one in the planet. Why is that? Because they haven't mastered this this philosophy right here. If the guy with the gun have finished mastery of life and the mastery of his philosophy, he understand beyond right and wrong. He understand reality for reality. There is no king, there is no businessman, there is no priest, there is no sword. There is just four guys and one guy is walking out. Will it be him? Right? So if they could cut through that, the conclusion will be very quick and simple. But as you see, we don't live in that type of absolute reality. We live in a very fucked up reality where these conversations of who walks out is a debate. And we debate this for 1,000 years, 2,000 years, and we haven't finished the debate. But for me, the debate was complete. I am done. The conclusion is very clear. Now, it's not that I'm not open mind. Yeah, I'm open mind for things that I don't know. But in this context, entertaining stupid idea is not it's not open mind. Entertaining stupid and dumb idea is just stupid and dumb. Overcoming dissonance. It takes me 10 years to deal with this. When I first joined the military in 2001, I'm not like the other kids in the military. I was 26 and most of them were like 20. There's a huge gap between my mind and their mind. There are several key things that make it different. I have been contemplating since I was 6 or 7. I mean, as young as I can remember, because life was very tough for me. I don't have a childhood. I have an adulthood from the moment I was born. While other kids are playing, I'm selling cigarette on the street at before 10. So I came to US by 9 or 10, and before then I already worked as packing cigarettes, bottling beer, standing on the street selling cigarettes. I mean, this was my childhood, and you don't. This is not childhood. This is adulthood, living at a very young age. And then in the U.S., I had to deal with similar stuff. And then by 1995, my dad had two business. My mom have a business, my dad has a business, and I'm the primary assistant. So I am the second in command of several business. I joined the military, and of course they look at my rank and they think, oh, here's a kid, Asian, small, and my face and demeanor is not a very dominating feature. So it's very easy to look down on me as this kid, the new kid, the lowest ranking in the military. But I have already been a CEO long before a soldier. So there's a lot of dissonance, why do I have to put up with all of this stuff? So I think about how the military works and what's right, what's wrong, what works, what doesn't. So for 10 years, I've been flipping a lot of the scripts. And then when they finally pushed me too far in 2013, and I decided, hey, if you want a war, you get a war. I don't mind killing everybody. I have the right to defend myself. So when Americans support Israel and Bibi Netanyahu, they don't understand what they're doing because they're also supporting their own demise. For example, I'm not the only one who have hatred for white people who have trampled on their lives for generation upon generation upon generations. I counted 4 generations that my family have had to endure. The white people have harmed my child, myself, my parents, their parents. And this is the stuff that I know. What about the 5th generation before that? Possibly it's also true. But I know for myself, I could count 4 generations of my family that have been harmed by white people already. So when white people say, hey, we are the savior, I'm like, that's not true. Hey, we know what's best for you. That's not really true. Hey, we are equal. I'm like, okay, let's stop with the shenanigan. Uh, the Tao is unconditional freedom. So once you start asserting yourself, right? So the will to power, I became assertive. Like my life will exist, and if you challenge it, then we are in conflict. And if your worldview does not tolerate my existence, then we have a problem where one of us will have to die. And between my worldview and your worldview, however you want to fight it, you do what you gotta do. I will do what I gotta do to survive. I have the right to defend myself. So my worldview becomes a force that is worth dying for. But it's really hard to talk about philosophy in real life. People just don't have the capacity for it to think beyond their life. So I compare some of this philosophy with some of the other philosophy that are more well known, like Nietzsche. We also have the Tao, Tao Te Ching, the Book of Change, the Way of Heaven. Confucius, align his philosophy with heaven, how everything works together. So my philosophy is not really mine, right? Because it's not just me. I am bringing myself to align with a law, not because the law have any will over me. Like the heaven, they don't talk to me and they don't say, "Hey, Khan, you have to do this. You have to think this. You have to live this way." So this is a voluntary alignment where it was not forced upon me, but through understanding and through a lot of investigations, I have affirmed to myself that of the infinite way, this is the way. And when the moment I say this is the way, you start to like, okay, what is this way? Like, show me. It's not like that. I had a young guy who believed I'm intelligent, so he seek wisdom from me, but he's 30 something and he represents the Z generation and the new generation very well. So he wanted me to give it to him in the way he wanted, right? So it's like, okay, I have so much wisdom and knowledge, with my life. What is the one sentence that sums it up? Well, sure, I could give you one sentence like will to power, but that's kind of useless to you, right? I could tell you that the Tao is the way, and that's kind of useless to you. Because when I'm saying that the Tao, the way, I'm talking about the infinite of the heavens. I'm talking about the entire spectrum of physics. Like, how do someone who never studied physics understand what physics is? When I say, oh, this is the way, and I'm like, okay, if physics is the way, I'm cool, right? Like, how do you apply physics when you don't know the first basics of it? And then when you talk about the full spectrum of physics, the whole electromagnetic spectrum, do you even have any idea how big and how broad the spectrum is? You don't. And so when you hear someone talk about their way, it's just not going to be easy for you to comprehend what that is. Their way, my way, and the way, they all mean similar thing, but they're not exactly the same thing. And then you see me acting a certain way, and you think that's the way. Like, that's not exactly. You see like less than 1% of the way when you see me act. Like right now when I'm making this channel, I'm doing this channel, and you're like, okay, this is his way, this is the way. I'm like, well, true in the sense that this is part of the way, but it is not the totality of the way. So I'm different from some other philosophy, but there's semantics and there's variation, but the gist of it is somewhat similar. For some people, especially Western is the best place to critique this. We have foreign relations, we have domestic policy, we have corporate rule, we have family rules, and then we have like personal development. And each of them have a set of rules, and they are able to contradict. They are able to make exceptions. For me, that is not smart, that is dumb, that's stupid. For me, the rule has to be applicable across every spectrum of existence. For example, when I built the Tao, I developed my own philosophy. The requirement is, if this is true, it has to be true in every sense of existence. So if I say like you need to protect yourself and your existence, it's true whether you're the child, the family, like mom and dad, or as a nation, the police, the immigration department, like the whole structure, the government itself that protected the country. And then geopolitics, the dynamic between the country. The rules for existence have to fit all of those, because all of those are existence itself. You cannot change the rule as you move back and forth. Physics doesn't work that way, so I believe philosophy should work that way. But for Western's ideals and Western rules, they have a very comfortable position with dissonance. Whereas this stuff here, I have to overcome dissonance because I have dissonance. For a lot of these people, they don't have dissonance, and why is that? Compartmentalized truth. Christians have had to deal with dissonance when they were born, and the way they deal with it is to just lock it up. Let's not think about it. So to overcome the dissonance between Jesus and reality, they just, when they go to church, they believe in Jesus, and when they step out of church, they believe in the dollar. I mean, they were groomed from childhood to live with this dissonance. I was not. So I fight dissonance. I want to reconciliate all of these differences. Every time I have an opportunity to talk with the Jesuits, I always pick the brain about the difference between me versus Jesus. And they worship Jesus and they study a lot and they don't have this dissonance, but I do. And for the most part, Jesuits have always been very good at helping me piece all of this together. My existence and the existence of Jesus and the existence of the teaching of the Catholic. The first one that broke the door for me was Father David in Chiang Mai. He runs the Seven Fountain Church in Chiang Mai. I think he understands my problem so well that he has only one question. Is my worldview such that there is no place where Catholic could exist? As in, do I have this worldview that Catholic have to stop existing? I'm like, well, that's not really true, is it? So for many years, I keep thinking about that, right? Like, does my worldview allow for this to exist, for that to exist, or that to exist? So even though I don't really believe in the Jesus story, but can I allow that story to exist? I don't believe in Santa Claus, but can I allow Santa Claus to exist? I don't believe. What is the other thing besides Santa Claus? So I don't believe in dragons, but can I tolerate the existence of dragons? And the questions came up to me in 2012. And it takes almost 10 years for me to kind of digest this one fucking question. It's like, what is my, does my worldview have no place for Catholics? So now not only do I have the place for Catholic, I also became a Catholic after 1 year of studying. I'm not really devoted Catholic, but I studied the catechism and I went through the whole process. And then I also went into the process of trying to create new dragons. Like I download books on dragons, not because I enjoy reading more about books on dragons, but I'm trying to invent dragons. And so I'm studying the the books on dragons so I can invent my own dragons. So it's a long time. So when I decide to exist and I exert my will to exist, a lot of responsibility come back on me. To build the narrative, I have to understand how the narrative works. Why should we have a narrative? What are the components of the narrative? How do I create this narrative? How do I improve a narrative? How do I fight a narrative? So, like, to unpack all this stuff, there's no answer. I have to go find the answer. So I compare and contrast a lot of views to deconstruct the narrative and how to build my own narrative and how to pass on this narrative to the next generation. If I teach my son about white supremacy, the first thing he's gonna do is go out and look at white people as the white supremacy. But white supremacy is not white people. They're not really the same. But the way the system have set up, Asian, African, white, when they lump that up, it set us up in a trap. So I would think as a government, as a responsible government, the first thing they should do is unpack this dumb shit and get rid of the white thing. There's really no white. There's Jewish, and there's Ashkenazi Jewish, there's American Jews, there's a lot of different fucking Jewish. There's Chinese, there's a lot of fucking Chinese. And lumping Chinese and Vietnamese and Laos, all these people into Asian is disrespectful. So anyway, knowing the terms is kind of important, and then you could construct the narratives from there. Well, not exactly. So self-creation is what I'm talking about now. It's like once you have the will to power, you have to recreate yourself. Everything that I was taught about who I am, Asian American, Vietnamese American, they were given to me. Once I dismantle them, I have to recreate. If I'm not this, and what am I? I have to find new ways to define myself. Either that, or I don't define myself. And then what am I? Do I exist or not exist? So my friend would say I sound like a determinist, but he studied a lot and he keep using terms in the academics. But I don't really see myself as a determinist because, like I said about the Tao, when you see me commit to something, it's not the same thing as my 4-year-old committing to something. When I am being accused of determinist, it may not necessarily be so, because I have already considered many way and many situation, and at this specific time, at this specific issues, this is the best way that I see. It's not deterministic. It's the conclusion of massive analysis. Uh, so I think I was working with Gemini, and it either quoted me or I quoted myself. I'm going to make the choice to live, and I've been saying that throughout. I want to live, so I make that choice. That I decided. And then the rules. The rules didn't work. If I followed the rules, I would have died. So to not die, I need new rules. I have to define it because it was not given to me. The white people didn't give me a rule on how to win, how to fight against white people. I have to come up with that. So how to respond and the power, I have to invent all of that, recreate the rules, and recreate how to engage, forming my own policy. So I watched anime and I found one that really expound on my philosophy. Renegade Immortal. This guy is not a saint and he's no Buddha, and that's what I really love about him. And the writer, he have a great understanding of humanity. I love his philosophy, and you could see some of it. Obviously, he cannot explain everything, but through the story, I could feel the philosophy of this guy. What's right and what's wrong, let's not talk about it. You go and you commit your life to your right. I will commit myself to my right. And let's see who lives. May the best man win. And this leads us to beyond good and evil. We started with it and we end with it. This is not about good and evil. There are good and there are evil, but this is moving beyond that. My existence is beyond good and evil. I have to make a decision to live, and I have to make a decision how to live. And once this is done, I have to go through with it and do the best with it. I don't believe spending another 10, 20 years or 2,000 years debating it is worth it. But humans should debate it. But for myself, the debate is done. And then 200 years later, people could look back and decide if I'm good or evil, but that's their decision. But today, when I'm living, I don't have a 200 years luxury to debate if my action is good or evil. I have to do the best that I can to know that what I do is good, at least in my perspective. And if the whole world, 8 billion people, determine that what I do is evil, that's fine. They could have that opinion. I was to do what I have to do. And this is what I mean by beyond good and evil. Beyond your opinion, but not beyond the truth of good and evil. Just beyond people's opinion. Because a lot of things you talk about and hear about are just opinions. And most of it is irrelevant at this point for many of the stuff I'm talking about. History required like 200, 500 years to run its filter. And then those people could have the luxury of looking back at 200 and 500 years and decide who is good and who's evil. But the people today don't have that authority.